Hello dear DSC candidates, welcome back to my Grammar for Success channel. I am Coresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In today's video, I am going to explain the literary devices employed in SWAMI and Friends written by R.K. Narayan. I therefore request all of you to watch this video till the end without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to consider subscribing to my channel and also sharing this video with all your friends who are also going to take the DSC examination along with you. Thank you so much. Now let's get into this beautiful video. Literary devices in SWAMI and Friends, very important from your DSC examination point of view. One or two bits may be given from the literary devices employed in this novel SWAMI and Friends. Okay, let us look at the introductory points about this topic. R.K. Narayan employs various literary devices in SWAMI and Friends. Why did he make use of several literary devices? Means only to create a rich and engaging narrative. That means to create a rich narrative. Narrative means story, okay, and engaging. Engaging means very attractive, very appealing, or very interesting. In other words, you can say. So, in order to create a rich and a very interesting narrative that captures what? The innocence of childhood. Innocence of childhood means, in other words, childhood innocence. During childhood, what happens the boys or girls will have a lot of innocence in their faces or in their actions. Okay, so that is called childhood innocence. So this story captures the innocence of childhood. It also tells us about the charms of small town life. And you know very well, Malgudi is a small town, and you can find some certain charms of small town life. So small town life will have its own charms, its own beauty. So those charms of small town life and also the childhood innocence, these two things are captured in this beautiful or very interesting narrative that is SWAMI and Friends. Okay, and in order to make this narrative very interesting, very appealing to all the readers, this R.K. Narayan employs various literary devices. Okay, and let us see what those various literary devices are. Come on, here you pay attention. Below are given the key literary devices. So here are given some key literary devices, not all literary devices, but some important literary devices. Key means important, very important literary devices are given here. You just follow them very carefully, very attentively. Right, let's move on to the first literary device. Humor. This is the first literary device which R.K. Narayan employs in his novel SWAMI and Friends. Okay, and all of you know very well about this humor. Okay, what is that? Humor is nothing but the quality which makes something funny. That means in Telugu Vinodamu or Hasyamu or something like that. Okay, you know that very well. Now let us learn about this humor here. And he says Narayan's use of humor is a defining feature of the novel. You know very well, R.K. Narayan employs this literary device humor extensively in this novel because it is a defining feature of the novel. Defining feature means the most common feature of the novel, the most usual feature of the novel, and not only the most usual feature of this novel, but also it is the most common feature of his other novels also. That means R.K. Narayan has depended largely on this literary device in almost all his novels, and therefore he has made use of this humor extensively in almost all of his novels. So here also he makes use of this humor. And how? Let us see that here. The light-hearted and often situational humor. Okay, here two kinds of humor explained. What is that? Light-hearted. Light-hearted means free from seriousness. Free from seriousness means not harming others. ఇతరులకు హాని కలిగించనటువంటి, ఇతరులకు బాధ కలిగించనటువంటి. That is called light-hearted. So light-hearted humor, one point, and situational humor. Situational humor means according to that situation you can get some humor. Okay, so in this way, you can find in this novel the light-hearted humor and also the situational humor that arises from what? Swami's antics, his interactions with the friends, okay, and his and the ironies of daily life. So from these three things, Swami's antics, his interactions with friends and teachers, and the ironies of daily life, from these three sources we get humor in this novel. Okay, how here Swami's antics are there. Antics means what? Antics means attention drawing acts or actions are called antics. So here this is quite different from what you call this is antique is there. Okay, antique is different. This is antique, this is antique. Antique means what? A relic or an object of the ancient times. Prachina kalamunaku chendinatvanti oka vastuvunu, that is called antique. This is antique, this is antique. So here Swami's antics. Antics means what is that? The attention drawing acts, the attention drawing actions are called antics. Okay, and sometimes what happens, the boys in front of the girls, they will be performing so many actions or so many acts in order to attract their attention. So that kind of actions, that kind of acts are called antics. So here Swami also performs so many antics in order to attract the attention of all his friends and all that. So here, so he performs so many antics. So from these Swami's antics, you can get humor, that is the first point. And from his interactions with friends and teachers, interactions means what? The activity of talking to each other, that is called an interaction. You talk to somebody, somebody will talk to you, that is called an interaction. Interaction means, in other words, communication in or conversation. So this Swami has interactions with his friends and teachers. From these interactions also you can get some humor. And from the ironies of daily life, ironies of daily life means what? For example, you are responding to the forecast of the weather department, okay, saying that it is going to rain throughout the week. So what did you do? You just carried with you an umbrella to your office or to your college. Throughout the week you carried that umbrella with you, okay, but it did not rain, okay, take it for granted, it did not rain. But the day when you did not carry the umbrella with you, then it rained heavily and you were drenched in that rain. See, that is called an irony of life. వర్షాలు పడతాయని చెప్తే నువ్వు రోజు గొడుగెత్తుకెళ్తున్నావు ఆఫీస్కు కాలేజీకి, వారం అంతా చూసావు వర్షాలు పడతాయి, వర్షాలు పడలేదు. ఎప్పుడైతే నువ్వు ఏదైతే రోజు గొడుగు తీసుకువెళ్ళలేదో అదే రోజు విపరీతమైన వర్షం పడి నువ్వు మొత్తం తడిసిపోయి ముద్ద అయిపోయావు. సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఎన్ ఐరనీ ఆఫ్ ఫేట్, ఐరనీ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్. జీవితం యొక్క ఐరనీ అంటే అలా ఉంటుంది. అనదర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐ వుడ్ లైక్ టు గివ్ యూ. వీ హ్యావ్ సో మెనీ టూల్స్ టు స్టే కనెక్టెడ్, like phones, social media, TV and all that, social media and video calls and so many tools we have. In spite of all these things, most of the people feel lonelier than ever. ఎన్నో ఉన్నాయి మనం ఒంటరిగా లేకుండా చేయడానికి. బట్ ఇన్ స్పైట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ దీస్ టూల్స్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్ టుడే ఆర్ ఫీలింగ్ లోన్లియర్ దాన్ ఎవర్. ఇంతకు ముందు కంటే కూడా ఒంటరిగా ఉన్నట్టుగా వాళ్ళు ఫీల్ అవుతున్నారు. సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ది ఐరనీ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్. Okay, in this way, from the Swami's antics you get humor, from his interactions with friends and teachers you get humor, from the ironies of daily life also you get humor. In this way, in this novel you get both the light-hearted humor and the situational humor. These two kinds of humor you get in this novel. Some example is also given here to make you understand this. Swami's what is that? Exaggerated fear of his headmaster and his clumsy attempts to lie to avoid school are humorously portrayed. So here look at this example. Swami is exaggerated. Exaggerated means what? Exaggerated means a great deal of. Exaggerate means a great deal of. Chala, you can say. So Swami had a great deal of fear of his headmaster. He had a great deal of fear of his headmaster, and that creates some kind of humor here. No, and his clumsy attempts to lie to avoid school, and he makes all clumsy attempts. Clumsy means awkward attempts to lie, to tell lies to avoid school. So, in order to avoid school, this Swami tells lies, and in that way he makes all clumsy attempts. Clumsy means very awkward. వికారమైన ప్రయత్నాలు చేస్తుంటాడు స్కూల్ని ఎగ్గొట్టడానికి, మరి అబద్ధాలు ఆడుతూ వికారమైన ప్రయత్నాలు చేయడం. ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ థింగ్ ఆల్సో యూ కెన్ గెట్ హ్యూమర్. ఓకే, so in this way they are all, what is that, humorously portrayed. Portrayed means described or mentioned in this beautiful novel Swami and Friends. So this is all about the first literary device, and now let's move on to the second literary device. Second one, irony. Irony is yet another very important literary device employed by R.K. Narayan in this novel Swami and Friends. Okay, and about this irony I have explained in most of my videos, okay, in several of my videos very clearly, and now also I would like to give you a very brief idea about this irony. Irony is what? Irony is nothing but a form of humor. A form of humor. Just now you have learnt about humor. Humor means what? The quality that makes something funny. That is the meaning of humor. Vinodamu, hasyamu, something like that. And this irony is also a form of that humor. That means this is also a kind of humor, and through this irony also the writers can evoke laughter, evoke humor in the minds of the readers. So that is the point you have to understand. And here irony is what? A form of humor in which what happens, words are used to express the opposite of what words actually means, truly mean. Okay, that means the external meaning of the words is quite opposite to the internal meaning. For example, it is very cloudy, okay, it is showering, it is raining, and everything muddy outside, and now you have just stepped into the rain, and then you say, oh, how pleasant the weather today is. That means, the meaning of that is, quite opposite to its internal meaning. Okay, externally you are saying the weather is fine, but internally it means the opposite of this. What is that? It is very bad because it is showering outside, it is raining outside, everything is muddy, everything is what you call, yes, cloudy, and everything is not good outside. So then you are saying, so this is called irony. One more example I would like to give you to make you understand this. You are going along the way, and you find your friend's son carrying a big and a heavy bag of books to school, and seeing that boy, you say, looking at the heavy bag he is carrying, you say, oh, how light your bag looks to be. That means, the meaning of this is quite opposite to that internal meaning. What is that? The bag is very heavy. That is the meaning of that. In irony, what happens, words are used to express the opposite of what words actually mean. That is there. So here let me give you some idea about irony that is made use of in this novel. R.K. Narayan uses irony. Why? In order to highlight. Highlight means to focus what? Contradictions. Contradictions means what? Differences. Differences or distinctions in the lives of his characters. In the novel there are several characters. Mani is a character, Rajan is a character, okay, Swami is a character, Somi is a character, Samuel is a character, Ebenezer is a character, Headmaster is a character, okay, and Rajam's father is a character. There are so many characters in this novel, and in order to highlight the differences in the lives of his characters, he makes use of this irony. That is the first thing. And next, he uses this irony in order to comment subtly. Subtly means what? Cleverly or delicately. In other words, two meanings are there. Subtly means cleverly, subtly means delicately, sunnitanga, something like that. Let us take this meaning. Let us go with this meaning only. So to comment delicately on societal norms. So in those days the societal norms were somewhat stricter, somewhat more rigorous and all that. So he makes use of irony to comment on those societal norms. That is there. So in this way, R.K. Narayan makes use of irony to highlight the contradictions in the lives of his characters, first thing, and to comment delicately on societal norms. So for these two things he makes use of this irony. So one example is also given here. Swami protests against the school's rules in an attempt to assert independence. So here Swami protests against his school's rules. So in those days, almost all the schools in India were run by the British government only. So they were owned by the Britishers. They were run by the Britishers. The teachers were also Britishers. So that's why Swami protests against the school's rules. School's rules means school's routine. You have to go to school at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. You have to remain in the school throughout the day till 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You have to learn all the things. So there is no question of any exemption. So all such things are there. So that's why he protests against the school's rules. The school's rules were very strict in those days. The school's routine was very strict in those days. So he protests against that in order to free himself, or in order to enjoy independence, in order to enjoy freedom. So for the sake of freedom, he protests against the school's rules and school's routine, but ends up creating more problems for himself. And while attempting to protest against the school rules, he will be bogged down in more and more problems. So that is called irony. Pratighatiంచబోయి ఇబ్బందుల్లో కూరుకుపోవడం, that is called irony. So that is there here, right? And irony is okay. Now you move on to learn about the next literary device. Imagery is there. Third one is imagery. And imagery means you must immediately remember the mental picture. The mental pictures are called imagery. When you read something, what happens now? You get some kind of mental picture. Some mental picture will flash on your mental screen. That picture itself is called imagery. Okay. This is also a very beautiful literary device employed by R.K. Narayan in this novel, right? Vivid descriptions bring the fictional town of Malgudi to life. So here in this novel, vivid descriptions bring the fictional town Malgudi. You know, this Malgudi is a fictional town. It is an unreal town. It is an imaginary town, you know very well. Okay, it exists nowhere, and it is only an unreal town. So these descriptions bring life to this fictional town Malgudi, first point, making it almost a character in the novel. And this R.K. Narayan, through his descriptions, makes this Malgudi a character in the novel. Malgudi oka character ga chesi padesesadu. Though it is an unreal town, though it is an imaginary town, though it is a town which never exists at all. Right. And here Narayan's use of sensory imagery helps readers visualize the settings and atmosphere. So here Narayan's use of sensory imagery, that means R.K. Narayan writes the novel in such a way that the readers would get some kind of mental pictures about the settings and the atmosphere of the novel. When you start reading that novel, you get some kind of mental pictures. What kind of mental pictures? About the settings of that novel, about the atmosphere of that novel. So about all these things, you get some kind of picture in your mind, that is sensory imagery, mental pictures and all that. Some example is also given here to make you understand this. Example, the Sarayu river, described as a place of solace and play, is depicted with evocative detail, making it a recurring motif in the story. So this Sarayu river is there. Actually, this Sarayu river is located in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. You know that very well. This is a holy river, and it is mentioned in the Vedas and in the Ramayana also. It originates in Manasa Sarovar of Himalayas, and it flows 350 kilometers and merges with the Ganga. That also you know very well. And on the bank of the Sarayu river, there is the birthplace of Lord Rama, that is Ayodhya. That's why the name of this Sarayu river can be seen in the Vedas and also in the Ramayana. So in this way, the Sarayu river is a holy river. But I don't understand why he has made use of this Sarayu river to be in this Malgudi, because Malgudi itself is an imaginary town. So in that imaginary town, this Sarayu river is said to be flowing. Okay, this Narayan says that is the Sarayu river is flowing because it is an imaginary town, imaginary river. Maybe he likes this Sarayu river very much, and that's why he has made a mention of it in this Malgudi. And the Sarayu river described as a place of solace, and the Sarayu river that is flowing through this Malgudi is described as a place of solace. Whenever this Swami and his friends are heartbroken or depressed, they would go to the bank of this Sarayu river and they would sit down there for a while in the sand, and they would get some kind of solace. And they would also play in the sand on the bank of the Sarayu river. Okay, and this Sarayu river is depicted with evocative detail. Evocative detail means what is it? Evoking some kind of emotional response. Okay, you know, whenever you remember this Sarayu river, you get all your memories, childhood memories and all such things. So that's why, you know, evocative detail, okay, making it a recurring motif in the story. So this Sarayu river is made a recurring motif. Motif means the dominant idea or the central idea. Recurring means occurring repeatedly. So this Sarayu river is repeated as a dominant idea in this story repeatedly. That means again and again. So in this way, the Sarayu river is mentioned in this. When you remember the Sarayu river, you understand the river flowing and the bank of the river, people playing in the sand and all that. So all such things you can understand. You get some kind of mental picture that is called imagery. Okay, now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Symbolism. This is the fourth literary device. Okay, and what is this symbolism? Symbolism is nothing but the art of using symbols or the practice of using symbols. About this symbolism, you know very well, it is a powerful literary and artistic device that conveys deeper meanings beyond the literal interpretations of the characters or events or objects that are mentioned in that novel. And this symbolism enriches the storytelling by infusing it with layers of meaning. Okay, and this symbolism R.K. Narayan employs in his novel Swami and Friends. Let us see how Narayan has made use of this literary device in this novel. Okay, R.K. Narayan employs symbolism. Why? To add deeper meaning to the narrative. You know very well, generally not only this writer but most of the writers will make use of this symbolism only in order to add deeper meaning to the narrative. That means, layers of meaning to the characters, to the incidents, to the events, to the objects that are there in that story. So that's why here this Narayan employs symbolism to add deeper meaning to the narrative. To the narrative means to the novel. Okay, how? Let us see those symbols he has made use of in this novel. What is that? Malgudi. It is a big symbol. What does this Malgudi stand as a symbol for? Means it stands, represent means it stands as a symbol for quintessential Indian town. Quintessential means, I have already told you that perfect. Quintessential means perfect. You know very well, in India there are so many towns like Malgudi, and if you look at Malgudi, you need not look at other Indian towns because what all the things you find in this Malgudi, you can also find in the Indian towns. Okay, and that's why it is standing as a symbol, a perfect symbol for all the towns of this India, of this country. Okay, symbolizing a blend of tradition and modernity. In the Indian towns, what can you find? You can find tradition and modernity. These two things, the blend of these two things you can find in the Indian towns. The same things you can also find in Malgudi. If you see Malgudi, you need not see the Indian towns, because just like this Malgudi, all other Indian towns are. That's why he has this R.K. Narayan has created this Malgudi in such a way that it looks exactly like any other Indian town. That is the meaning you have to get from this. And one more symbol is also used by this Narayan in this novel, that is the cricket bat. So this cricket bat, what does this cricket bat
stand as a symbol for means it symbolizes Swami's aspirations. Swami's aspirations. Aspirations means what? Strong desires, strong wishes, strong ambitions. So what are Swami's aspirations? Means he wants to become a well-educated man. He wants to become a good you can say cricket player, and he has got his own ambitions. So let's say, so this cricket bat symbolizes Swami's aspirations of his becoming a good cricketer and all that, and his desire to connect with his friends and particularly with Raja. He has also a very strong desire to be always connected with his friends. He wants to be connected with all his friends, especially, particularly means especially with Rajam, because he likes Rajam very much. Moreover, he is a wealthy friend. His father is a police officer. He is a rich friend, and he wants always to get connected with all his friends, especially with Raja. So in this way, this cricket bat stands as a symbol for his strong aspirations of becoming a very good cricket player and always getting connected with his friends, especially with Raja and so on. So in this way, in this novel, you can find Malgudi as a symbol and the cricket bat also as a symbol of these things. Okay, now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Fifth one, satire is there. Satire means, in other words, sarcasm, okay, sarcasm, okay, or mockery. Already, I think I have told you several times about this satire also in many of my videos. Okay, satire means sarcasm. Okay, what is that? Vyangyamu. Okay, or what is that? Mockery, or whatever you can say. Satire, irony, all these are one and the same, but with a little difference we make use of them here and there. Okay, R.K. Narayan gently critiques, okay, satirizes or critiques the colonial education system. So in those days in India there used to be the colonial education system. So India was a colonial state, and the education system that was prevalent, that was existing in those days was called colonial education system. You know very well. So India was a colonial country during that time, and the education system is therefore called colonial education system. And here in this novel, R.K. Narayan critiques means criticizes this colonial education system. So that education system has aimed only at making the Indians as servants only, okay, to work under the British rulers only. So that is the purpose of that education system. Even that education system that was introduced by Lord Macaulay is still continuing in our country. That is really very unfortunate, and I think of late our present government or our previous government has taken steps to modify this education system. So new educational policy has come into existence. According to that new educational policy, now the students are getting their education, okay, learning the things, because earlier what happened, during my time also, the education you get is something different. The job you get is something different. So there is no link between the education you receive and the job you are going to do. So that is the old system of education, and that education system is going to be replaced by the new education policy. Okay, and here therefore in this novel R.K. Narayan criticizes the colonial education system one point, and he also criticizes societal expectations through the novel. So in those days the people had high expectations of their children, and they wanted their children to become great officers, well educated and so on. So generally the people would have that kind of expectations only. Everybody wants to become a well educated person, want to become a good officer and all such things. Nobody likes to become an attender, nobody likes to become a watchman or something like that. Everybody tries to become, try to reach the greatest heights in the field of education and all that. So that's why during that time societal expectations were very high. So those societal expectations were also criticized by this R.K. Narayan in this novel Swami and Friends. So in this way R.K. Narayan in this novel criticizes the colonial education system and also the societal expectations of the people of those days. Okay, and now you go to the next point. Example is given here. The portrayal of Albert Mission School is there. So Albert Mission School, just now I have told you about this, during the pre-independence era. So almost all the schools in India were run by the British government. Okay, they were managed by the British government. Their curriculum and their education system belonged only to the British government, and the teachers who worked in the schools were also Britishers. All such things I told you a little bit ago, I think. Okay, the portrayal of Albert Mission School. So in this novel, this R.K. Narayan describes this Albert Mission School, and this description highlights the rigid and often irrelevant nature of the curriculum. You know very well, this Albert Mission School, which is being run by the British government in those days, was implementing that curriculum which is irrelevant and which is also very rigid. And this school curriculum was not only irrelevant but also very rigid. Rigid curriculum, irrelevant curriculum, this Albert Mission School was implementing during that period, and as well as the cultural disconnect between students and their colonial teachers. So here in those days there was no connection between the students, these are all students, okay, and the teachers. There is no connection. Okay, now, today what is that now? Between the teachers and students there is some kind of cordial relationship, friendly relationship, okay, and a very good relationship will be there. Aesthetic relationship must be there between the students and the teacher. There must be supposed to be some aesthetic relationship. Aesthetic means a very meaningful relationship must be there. I am a teacher, you are my student. The relationship between the teacher and the student must be very meaningful, cordial, friendly and all that. But in those days the relationship between these students and the teachers was not up to the mark. It was not very good. That means the teachers did not allow the students to approach them for getting their doubts clarified and so on, because there was no proper connection between the students and the teachers in those days. So here in this novel, this R.K. Narayan is criticizing not only the rigid and irrelevant curriculum of this Albert Mission School, but he is also criticizing the unfriendly relationship between the students and the teachers of that time. So all these things you can find in this novel. Now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Sixth one, pathos is there. Pathos means emotional response. Maybe sympathy, okay, maybe mercy, maybe kindness, and this is also a very interesting literary device employed by R.K. Narayan in this novel. And here R.K. Narayan elicits sympathy. Elicits means brings out. Elicits means brings out sympathy for whom? For Swami in moments of loneliness, okay, or some in moments of conflict. Two things are mentioned here: in moments of loneliness, in moments of conflict. And you know very well, this Swami, because of his stubborn behavior, what happened? He had to remain sometimes lonely without his friends and all that. So in the moments of his loneliness, the readers had some kind of sympathy for this Swami, and also in his conflict. This Swami had a conflict with Rajam, okay, because you know very well, Rajam invited Swami to participate in the cricket match on that particular day, but this Swami could not go and participate in that match because his teachers of board high school did not allow him to go there. So that's why he failed to participate in the cricket match, and therefore this Rajam cuts off his friendship. And there arises between this Swami and Rajam a conflict. a kind of a quarrel between these two and all that. So especially during the rift, so rift means, and these two are just separated. There took place some separation, estrangement, okay, some kind of gap between the Swami and Raja, okay, and the conclusion of the novel. That means at the end of the novel you find that he remains very lonely without his friends nearby. He stands all alone on the sands of the Sarayu river. You know that very well. So in this, in the moment of his loneliness, at the end of the novel, first point, and in the moments of his rift with Rajam, that is the second part. During these two things, what happened? The Narayan tries to make the readers show sympathy for him. R.K. Narayan tries to make the readers show some kind of sympathy for him, emotional response, some kind of pathos for him. So that is what he tried to do, and as he expected, the readers also showed a lot of sympathy for this Swami during his loneliness or during his conflict with the Raja. Okay, and that is there. One example is given. What is that? The bittersweet ending where Raja moves away. You know very well. At the end of the novel, this Rajam leaves for good that Malgudi, because his father was transferred to some other place, because his father was a government employee and he was transferred to some other place, and therefore he was forced to leave Malgudi for good. For good means permanently. Okay, and when he was leaving that Malgudi, what is that? That moment was bittersweet. He was going away, and this Swami feels very much frustrated. He feels very much heartbroken and depressed. I have already told you about this, and evokes a deep sense of loss. He feels he has lost one of his best friends, and he feels deserted. He feels heartbroken, you know very well, and the inevitability of change in friendship. And this issue also, this incident also evokes a deep sense of loss in Swami, and it also tells Swami about the inevitability of change in friendship. So the friendships will be changing from time to time. Suppose you are working here, so you will have friendship with so many people in this colony. Suppose you are transferred to some other place, there you will have your new friends, and you are very likely to forget these friends. Okay, and from that place, you happen to go to some other place. There you will form new friendships, and you are likely to forget the friends of this place. So like that, friendships are very impermanent. Okay, of course very close friends are there, childhood friends, boyhood friends, very well, so they may remain permanently with you, but that is a different matter. But tentative friends are there, temporary friends are there. So here you have some friends, and when you get transferred to some other place, there you have some friends. When you get transferred to some other place, there you have some friends. So in this way, wherever you go, you will have friends, and all these friends are just temporary. So that temporary nature of friendship is inevitable. The inevitability of change in friendships, that is inevitable, that is unavoidable. So that unavoidable, inevitability means unavoidability. You cannot avoid that. Today Rajan is here, tomorrow he is in some other place, and day after tomorrow he will go to some other place. So in that way he will be going from place to place, and he will have friends at different places. That is quite natural. So here this is this last part of the novel evokes some kind of deep sense of loss in Swami, and it also tells him about the inevitability or impermanence of friendship and all that. Okay, now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Seventh one, foreshadowing. This is yet another very important literary device. Foreshadowing means predicting or guessing the forthcoming incident or happening. రాబోవు హ్యాపెనింగ్ సంఘటనను ముందే పసిగట్టడాన్ని, that is called foreshadowing. And then the writer will give some hints to the readers, making them to predict or to expect that so and so thing is going to happen. That is a kind of technique. So making the readers to wait for certain things, that are going to happen in the other chapters. So therefore, just before one or two chapters, this writer will give some hints to the readers. So that kind of thing is called foreshadowing. రైటరు రీడర్స్ కి తాను అక్కడ కథలో జరగబోయే దాని గురించి ముందుగానే హింట్ ఇస్తాడు. సో ఈ హింట్ ను పట్టుకొని యూ గెస్ దట్ సర్టన్ అండ్ సర్టన్ థింగ్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు హ్యాపెన్ వెరీ షార్ట్లీ. సో యూ థింక్ లైక్ దట్ అండ్ యూ స్టార్ట్ రీడింగ్ దట్. You start reading that story or that novel. So in that way, through this foreshadowing, this literary device, the writers will evoke some kind of interest in the minds of the readers. So that's a beautiful technique. Okay, he will make them read the novel, right? That's called foreshadowing. And here R.K. Narayan subtly means here cleverly hints at, gives some hint about the future events. He tells the readers about the events that are going to take place very shortly, and creating anticipation. And in that way, he makes the readers wait for that, feel anxious to learn about that. He makes the readers feel anxious to learn about it, to see that event, to learn about that event and all that, and emotional depth. And through this, by giving hints at future events, the writer will also create some kind of emotional depth, and the readers will have that emotional depth, and they will think, that so and so thing is going to happen. The hero is going to meet his beloved very shortly. Okay, so that scene they want to see. And therefore they keep on reading the novel, very fast, and turning the pages and pages and pages, and ultimately they will come across that particular incident, and they enjoy that one. So in order to make the readers read that novel completely, the writers will give hints every now and then about the future incidents, future events and all that. That is called foreshadowing. And one example is given here. Swami's initial discomfort with Rajam foreshadows the tension and eventual rift in their friendship. So at the beginning, what happens, you find there is some kind of discomfort with Rajam at the beginning of the novel, because after the arrival of this Rajam, what happened? All the friends of this started gathering about this Rajam. Here, this Rajam is a new friend of that school, and therefore all the friends of Swami gather about this Rajam, leaving this Swami all alone. And he feels he was totally abandoned, he was totally deserted, and very well, and this Swami, feels that his popularity is deteriorating day by day. His popularity is coming down, decreasing, and because all his friends are now the friends of Rajam. Therefore, this Swami has some kind of discomfort or some kind of inconvenience with Rajam, and when the readers learn about this, readers will guess that there is going to be some kind of quarrel or some kind of tussle between this Swami and Rajam. They expect that. So this incident, this issue foreshadows the tension that is going to take place between these two, and the rift that is going to take place between them. So this thing makes the readers learn about this tension and the rift. So through this, this writer foreshadows some tension between the Swami and Rajam, and some kind of a quarrels between Swami and Rajam. So in this way, about this foreshadowing, we can learn in this novel, Swami and Friends. Okay, now let's move on to the next literary device. Characterization is there. What is this characterization? Characterization means the act of creating characters perfectly is called characterization. And here this R.K. Narayan masterfully means here let us say cleverly, very competently, uses dialogue, actions and interactions, 1, 2, 3, dialogue, actions and interactions to develop relatable and vivid characters. So he wants to create characters that are relatable, that can be narrated, that can be described very easily, and that are very vivid. That are vivid means not complex and complicated, but they are simple and easy to understand. Some characters will be there in some stories, you cannot understand the character thoroughly well because that character is very complex. So here R.K. Narayan has taken very good measures not to create complex characters but vivid characters and relatable characters. So therefore this is called masterful characterization. Clever characterization, because in the delivery of dialogues, in the performance of actions, in the performance of interactions, he has taken every care, and therefore he could create relatable characters and vivid characters. And here let me give you one example. Swami's mischief, okay, he does so much of mischief throughout the novel, and naivety means what? Innocence or gullibility. Okay, innocence means, where gullibility means some people are there, they believe in everything very easily. They believe in everything very easily. That's called gullibility. That is called gullibility. Millions of people are there in this country. They are all gullible. Whatever the leader tells them, they will just believe in that. They don't think about it logically, rationally. Okay, that is called naivety. Naivety means innocence, naivety means gullibility. So here Swami's mischief and Swami's naivety are revealed through his actions. So through the actions of Swami you can find some mischief, you can also find some innocence. Okay, so innocent actions they are all. You might think they are mischievous actions, but they are innocent actions. So only in the innocent actions you can find some kind of mischief. Okay, right, such as skipping school. Okay, skipping school means what? Bunking the school, bunking the classes, class like gotted up, avoiding the school, playing truant. So such as skipping school, it is a kind of naivety, it's a kind of mischief also. Attempting to impress Rajam, so this is also a kind of innocence. Okay, he always tries to impress Rajam because Rajam is a son of a wealthy man, a rich man, a government employee, and naturally everybody wants to befriend with him. And all his friends have befriended with him except Swami. And now what happened now? At last he realizes when all of my friends are befriending with him, why shouldn't I befriend with him? So thinking like that, he makes attempts to impress Rajam. So this is the characterization. Mischief of Swami, the naivety of Swami are beautifully portrayed in this novel. Okay, and now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Ninth one, allegory is there. About allegory, you know very well. Just last week or before the last week, we learnt about the allegory. What is that allegory? Animal form is a beautiful allegory. Allegory has got two meanings. A symbolic allegory means a symbolic representation. Okay, representation of some event or happening. Happening means ఘటన, సంఘటన. ఒక సంఘటన యొక్క representation, symbolic representation. అచ్చం అలాగనే దాన్ని కాపీ కొట్టి అలాగే దాన్ని చేయడాన్ని that's called symbolic representation. అచ్చు అలాగనే ఇక్కడ చేయడం. So here a symbolic representation of some event or happening is called an allegory. And the second meaning also you know very well. Allegory is a story. What is that? Is a story. What kind of story? Which is intended to teach the people some basic truth or some moral about life. జీవితం గురించినటువంటి ఒక సత్యాన్ని, ఒక నీతి పాఠాన్ని ప్రజలకు తెలియచేయడానికి ఉద్దేశించబడినటువంటి ఒక మోరల్ స్టోరీ. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఎన్ అలిగారీ. అలిగారీ అంటే ఇది, అలిగారీ అంటే ఇది. Okay, right? Now let us see how this novel is going to be an allegory. How this element is employed in this novel. Let us see that here. Okay, some elements of the story can be interpreted as an allegory. You can find some allegorical elements in this novel. how here see for the larger social political context of the pre-independence era. So here the political outside the school, this is the school. Outside the school you can find the political atmosphere was very bad because all the Indians were fighting against the British government, you know very well. So socially also the people were very backward. Okay, so social context, political context of pre-independence India is represented in this novel, and therefore this is therefore called an allegory. ఒక సంఘటనను అచ్చం అలాగే ఉన్నట్టుగా ఇందులో ప్రతిబింబించడాన్ని, రిప్రజెంట్ చేయడాన్ని అలిగారి అంటారు. సో ఇన్ దోస్ డేస్ there were many more social problems in those days, and political atmosphere was also very very bad. Okay, and because you know the Britishers were oppressing the people of this country, suppressing the people of this country, and throwing them into the dungeons and jails and all that. So the political atmosphere was very bad, and the social atmosphere was also very bad, with the superstitions of the people, with the backwardness of the people, with the poverty of the people, with all bad things. You know, the people in the society were you know backward. So these two things are represented in this novel. Therefore you can find some allegorical element, and one example is given here. The students protest against the school's authority. One day what happened, you know, all the students of that Albert Mission school protested against the school's authority. Just like the leaders of this country protested against the British authority. British authority ni mana Bharatiya Nayakulu, Nehru, Gandhi, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and so many great leaders were there in those days. You know, they all protested against that British authority. In the same way, in Malgudi, all the students protested against this school's authority. Albert Mission School's authority, right? So allegory. అచ్చం అలాగని ఇక్కడ కూడా అక్కడ వాళ్ళ బ్రిటిష్ అథారిటీని ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేస్తుంటే ఇక్కడ వీళ్ళు స్కూల్ అథారిటీని చేస్తున్నారు. సింబాలిక్, right? And can be seen as a reflection of the Indian struggle for independence from British rule. So that same thing is, you know, I have already explained about this. In the country at that time, all the Indians were, Indian leaders were, what were they doing? They were revolting against the British authority. They were protesting against the British authority. And here what is happening? All the students of that school, what are they doing? They are protesting against the school's authority. That's the symbolic. That's why this is called allegory. And now let's move on to learn about the next literary device. Local color is there. This is a new literary device for you. Okay, generally you may not have come across this literary device anywhere. Okay, and local color means, you know, local atmosphere can be seen. Indian atmosphere. Malgudi, you know, is a small town. Town's atmosphere, a village atmosphere, local atmosphere. That is called local color. You can find in this novel local color, the conditions of the people as they are, the life of the people as it is, something like that. And here you that's called local color. The novel is rich in cultural and regional details. So cultural details are presented in this novel as they are, and regional details are also presented in this novel as they are, and making Malgudi feel authentic and alive. Because everything written in this novel makes this Malgudi authentic and alive. Though this Malgudi is an imaginary town, unreal town. This town doesn't exist anywhere. It can exist only in the mind, that's all. It is nowhere existing. So that's why, but here in this novel, R.K. Narayan writes the cultural and regional details as they are. నిజంగా ఉన్నట్టుగానే అవన్నీ అలా రాశాడు. ఎలా రాశాడంటే, ఇగో ఈ ఉత్తుత్తి, ఈ మాల్గుడి ఈజ్ అన్ ఇమాజినరీ టౌన్. ఈ మాల్గుడి, ఈ అన్రియల్ మాల్గుడి నిజంగా అథెంటిక్, అలైవ్, జీవము కలిగినటువంటిదిగా, నిజమైందిగా, మనకు భ్రమ కలిగేటట్టుగా అలా రాశాడు. దట్స్ ద లోకల్ కలర్, రైట్? అండ్ ద కస్టమ్స్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్, ద ఫెస్టివల్స్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్. సో హియర్ డీటెయిల్స్ ఆర్ బీయింగ్ గివెన్. ఇక్కడ కల్చరల్ డీటెయిల్స్ అన్నాడు, బట్ ద సేమ్ థింగ్స్ ఆర్ గివెన్ హియర్. కస్టమ్స్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్, ఫెస్టివల్స్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్, డైలీ రొటీన్స్ ఆఫ్ ద టౌన్స్ రెసిడెంట్స్, డెప్త్ అండ్ టెక్స్చర్. యాడ్ డెప్త్ అండ్ టెక్స్చర్. వాట్ ఇస్ దట్? డెప్త్ అండ్ టెక్స్చర్. So all these things add depth to the story, and texture. Texture means what? Beauty to that story. In this novel, the customs of the people are mentioned, the festivals of the people are mentioned, the daily routines of the people are mentioned, and all these things add depth to the story and also texture to the story. Depth means, in other words, meaning to the story. గొప్ప అర్థాన్ని, గొప్ప అందాన్ని ఆ కథకు ఆపాదించినవి ఇవన్నీ. కాబట్టి ఇన్ దట్ వే, ఇన్ దిస్ స్టోరీ, cultural details and regional details are presented by R.K. Narayan as they are. And therefore, all of them are making this imaginary town Malgudi an authentic and alive one. అవన్నీ ఈ యొక్క ఉత్తుత్తి మాల్గుడిని అథెంటిక్గా, ఒక అలైవ్గా, బ్రతికి ఉన్న దానిలాగా చేసేస్తున్నారు. రైట్, నౌ లెట్స్ మూవ్ ఆన్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ వన్. నౌ లెట్ us learn about the last but one literary device. What is that? Childhood perspective. You know very well, perspective means point of view. About this point of view, I have made a beautiful video. Please try to watch it if time permits you. And now coming to this topic, childhood perspective, it is yet another literary device, and this is a beautiful technique, literary technique, and you can just see that the story is told through Swami's perspective. So you know very well, the entire novel, the entire story is narrated through Swami's perspective, Swami's point of view, and this allows R.K. Narayan to explore the world with a sense of innocence and wonder. That means, you know, this kind of technique allows R.K. Narayan to explore the world with a sense of innocence and world, because you know, whatever the readers look at, whatever the readers feel, all these things they do only through this Swami. Since this Swami is an innocent boy, and the entire story is narrated by this Swami, you can find this world only with a sense of innocence and wonder. ఇందులో కథ చెప్పేటోడే స్వామి కాబట్టి, స్వామి ఒక అమాయకుడు కాబట్టి, వాడు ఏం చెప్పిన అమాయకంగా చెప్పినట్టే ఉంటుంది, ఆశ్చర్యంతో చెప్పినట్టుగానే ఉంటుంది. సో దట్స్ వై నో విత్ ఎ సెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్నోసెన్స్ అండ్ వండర్, అండ్ హీ రిలేట్స్ ద స్టోరీ. అండ్ హియర్ యూ పే అటెన్షన్, దిస్ డివైస్ ఓకే హెల్ప్స్ రీడర్స్ empathize with Swami's joys and struggles. So empathize means to get connected with this Swami. R.K. Narayan is not telling you the story, only Swami is telling you the story, and that's why all the readers will get connected with the Swami's joys and struggles. So it, in that way, this childhood perspective will help the readers to get connected with the joys and sorrows of and struggles of Swami. Okay, this is all about childhood perspective. Now let's move on to learn about the last literary device. Realism is there. This is the last literary device. Realism means, in other words, naturalism, or realism means reality. You can also call it reality or naturalism. Okay, what is this realism? Let us learn about this literary device. R.K. Narayan's use of realism in depicting the everyday life of a middle class family. So here, this technique of realism R.K. Narayan employs in this novel in order to describe the everyday life of a middle class family of Swami. And here the schoolboys, he also gives us the description about the schoolboys and their behaviors and all such things very realistically, and therefore you can find the technique of realism, because you know, if you employ the technique of realism, you keep on depicting, you keep on portraying, you keep on describing everything realistically. So you feel that all things are happening realistically, not anything happening imaginarily and all that. Okay, right. And it makes the narrative relatable and grounded. And since this technique of realism is employed in this novel, and since all the incidents are described realistically, and that makes the narrative therefore relatable and grounded, and that makes the narrative very interesting, very engaging, and also grounded, very solid and authentic and all that. Okay, and this is all about realism. And now let's move on to the concluding words. By weaving these literary devices, by weaving means by employing these literary devices into Swami and Friends, into this novel, R.K. Narayan creates a layered and enduring work. So this R.K. Narayan could create a wonderful and a beautiful appealing work that resonates with readers of all ages. And this literary work resonates with readers of all ages, means this novel was read by people of all ages, capturing the universal themes of childhood, friendship and growing. And in this novel you can find the theme of childhood, the theme of friendship, the theme of the challenges of the growing up children, and all such things you can find. Okay, and with this this video comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hello dear DSC candidates, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any problem in understanding any of the literary devices, please make a mention of it in the comment section. I am ready to answer all of them. Okay, and with the third video, that is about important quotes and a small test consisting of 30 questions, with that video I shall be back to you. Until then, bye, see you all of you.